Hi guys, I'm laughing because yeah, I had a little bit of a difficulty getting in. So I wasn't sure if I was being recorded. You can see all my facial expression. So hopefully some of you guys will join me and feel free to type away. Let me know some of your thoughts, concerns. And we're going to talk about narcissism, the way people with mental illnesses think, process things, also what happens to us while we're going through these different relationships with people in general, because I had mentioned there's 4 different personality types that I took this personality uh, test on. And it's really interesting to see how it does matter on how we communicate with things, how we process things. And self esteem is really important. And it's something that we really need to work on, because when we're lacking in when we have certain insecurities, we're going to process things different. So the narcissist has some insecurities and they process things that relate to them. So if we say something, they take it internally, that they're not connecting with us because we are trying to say, I feel this way, but they take it as different. So when they feel things, it's from outside sources, it's from people, also activities, but they feel over time that the relationship is not where it should be. They start picking apart things because they had a negative upbringing. They see the glass half full. We see it, or half empty. We see it half full. So it's just a different perspective, because legitimately either is correct. And is a narcissist always correct? In their minds, they are. And it's considered a personality disorder, I feel, because it's destructive. It isn't something that we need to continue. And just like I've given analogies as far as infections, things like that, the infection is going to spread. I saw a quote where, you know, you are what you eat, where they're saying, and it just freshened. I've heard that before, but it's like when you surround yourself around people who are negative, it starts rubbing off on you. It starts changing who you are. So we have to take control of things, because they say you're who you are is a conglomeration of the people, the 5 people that you're connected with the most, that it shapes your personality. And if you're really strong, you can sometimes overcome certain things. But with the narcissistic abuse, it's subtle. And over time, become more sensitive. We don't understand it, and we're struggling to understand it, because if you don't know what the problem is, you can't fix it, and it blindsides us. And we see that there's a problem, we think this is what the problem is, and we want that connection. Like, hey, I'm not understanding why you're not texting me back. Or, in my eyes, this is what I feel is respectful. And you just try to get to the problem, and it can be redirected. So in a healthy relationship, they take the time to communicate with you. But when it's in the devaluation stage, they don't give you the time of day. So we start giving more when we should be backing off. And it gets that pendulum swinging. It gets the destruction in concrete. And we love that person. We've already given our all. We feel that, we've invested in this person. We're trying to understand what it is that we did wrong. Why don't they love us like they used to? We feel it. We feel it. We have like a sixth sense. And I'm not saying that they can't have a sixth sense. You feel people in your presence. Something's alerting you. There's energy in this universe that connects us. And when we start to feel off balance, We just want to understand it. We're in that fawn. They've added for fight and flight, they've added fawn, fight, flight, and fawn. And we're just deer in the headlight. We see something toxic, like the deer sees a toxic car about to smash into them. They don't know what it is. Is it dangerous? Is it the heavenly light coming towards them? They don't know what it is. They don't know what to do. Do I stay? Do I leave? And that's where we're at with them. It's like, do I stay or do I leave? And then we think about how much we love them and we are invested in it. If you paid, I don't know, $500,000 on a house, you don't just up and walk away from it and go, oh, well, yeah, I invested, but it goes deeper than that. And yeah, money's just money. A house is just a house, but you worked for that. You sacrificed, and it's not easy. You don't know why you're walking away. Like, I'm walking away from as an analogy, a $500 mansion. Like, okay, there's black mold. I'll leave. I don't care. You couldn't pay me to stay there because we know what's wrong. The value changes, and we keep that value high because we don't understand what the value is. It's hidden. And somebody told you as an analogy they could get rid of that black mold, you might give it another chance. I could stay in that house, yeah, as long as the mold's gone, and then you believe it's gone. And you're still feeling sick. You're like, what is going on? I don't see anything. I feel something, or I smell something, like we can in our relationships. I don't know what it is. It is like a sixth sense. And that's our body telling us something's off. So just like that house, if that house made you sick all the time, you might not know if it's mold. You might not know if it's asbestos. You might not know exactly what it's called. Lead paint, you don't know. And doesn't matter. The house makes you sick. You need to let it go. Your life is worth more than $500,000. I'd rather be alive and live in a $10,000 trailer and be okay, as long as it's in a safe neighborhood. But material things aren't what matter in life. Human life matters, and you're one of them. You are a human life. And we had this caring nature because we grew up, most of us, in either a caring home or we had somebody important to us show us love. Could have been somebody from church, synagogue, mosque. It could have been somebody from, your grandma's friend, somebody who connected with you and loved you and guided you. Working in the schools, I see the difference in how the children act. There are some mental illnesses. There are some traumas. It's brain-based, whatever it is, in my eyes. And I have some evidence on it, but as far as like that big of a scope, that I've given you guys that brain scan of that orphan child who was neglected. They also had those people visiting a hospital where the children aren't crying, and it's because they're not coddled, and they're taught over time not to cry. You just let them cry, they're gonna stop. And that orphan went through that for years. She didn't have love. Love is a basic need that we have. We need shelter. We need love. We need food. We don't need all these material things. But love is important. Interaction, connection. If you think about how special the human body is, that we can we can connect with people. We have lifelong relationships with people if we just take the time. And as we go through these abusive relationships, we withdraw. So not only are we losing the person who was so special to us and unfortunately hurt us, we're losing the people that did. And we're starting to isolate. Sometimes in those narcissistic relationships, you become isolated. And we can't lose focus of who we are. After the discard, sometimes we are codependent now or dependent. They're not always dependent on us because they're leaving us. And that's the difference between codependency and dependency. Um, Codependency is you both need each other, whether it's a toxic way or a healthy way. It's not really super healthy when you can't function on your own. Oh, hooray! You seen that? Yeah, they do. I'm so glad you're here. They act so crazy. It's definitely fun watching them though. Um, but I've really tried seeing the way. I have one kid today was such a liar, and he's a kindergartner, and uh, I think he has something more born with or genetic. I'm not going to say, I don't know if he's been through trauma. His sister is in the school. She doesn't seem anywhere near as bad as him. There might be some issues, but he cannot focus. He has to move all the time. And like I said, the narcissist isn't like a childlike state. So I'm so glad you're here. So he's always fidgeting. Attention span is non-existent, almost cannot focus, gets up, does his own thing, can't follow rules, always doing the opposite of what you ask him to do. And today he was writing on the chairs with crayon, and I asked him, a little girl told on him, and we'll call her Lisa. So he comes up to me, I'm like, did you write on the chair? And he's like, no. And I'm like, you're lying. And he's like, no, I'm not. Dead flat effect. Like, it seemed convincing. Now I knew the kid, and the girl he is blaming is one of those little girls, the little girls that like to please everybody. So she's a sweetheart, but she he said that she did it. And so I tried to get him to understand, like, you cannot tell a lie like that because you don't know what her family's like. You don't know if when she gets home she's going to get beat. You don't know if she's going to have to go to bed without food, if she's going to get grounded. And he's like, yeah, well, I said, so you're telling me that she did it? And he said, yes. I said, so she might get spanked tonight, and that's okay with you? And he, yeah. Like right in front of the girl too. And it just blows your mind. I'm like, you're kidding me. Like, you can't process that somebody else is gonna get beat. Um and because he said, yeah, it was her. Then I don't know, but yeah, it was her. So their story is just like when you're dealing with a narcissist, it's like, what is it? Is it this? Is it that? I don't know. Whatever seems to work, whichever one you're gonna buy. But John, how have you been with all your stuff with our lady friend and all the animals? I'm so sorry you lost your animals. That is sad. I know that's hard. Dixie, my dog's getting older, and I don't know. She's been real sweet. I think I told you I had COVID just a few weeks ago. It was really interesting how she like snuggled up to me in the weirdest way. She's very loving, but it's a certain kind of snuggle that she did that was very unique. And I I kind of think she sensed that I had COVID. Like, I think she knew. It was the weirdest snuggle. So like really leaning into me. And she's 11 years old, so it was something very unique. And I'm like, oh, because what she, like a It's stupid, but I do it. I'll breathe in her face sometimes. And you would think over the years my breath is somewhat the same. It changes a little, but if it smelled like spaghetti, I've had spaghetti before, things like that. But it was weird. It was weird how she reacted. And I brushed my teeth and everything, so I don't know. But animals too. I saw this thing about it was this one lady was training a dog, and her dog was like Dixie's age too. The dog never caught on, never figured out how to be housebroken, kind of just would eat shoes and do this, and was very destructive. And no matter what she did, the dog had a mind of its own. It would not listen to her. And she loves the dog, and she continued living with the dog, taking care of it. But you got to think of it as an analogy to our narcissist. Like that lady, it started changing her life. She was what's going to happen, what damage am I going to come into? you know are there messes throughout the house? So you got to like, that's kind of like walking on eggshells, is like the trust. Like, did I leave my house in a safe spot? And it's time consuming for her to do that, to check around, to wonder if the dog's going to listen today, or she has to give an extra 20 minutes to take it out because it's not going to listen to her. And same with our narcissist. It can be unpredictable. What are you walking into? And a lot of it is during that devaluation stage. And I think they get a comfort, which gives them a discomfort. It's like, it's interesting. But John and I have talked for a long time. I think this is being recorded. So, John, feel free to ask away. Um, Let me know. She had some criminal stuff going on too, didn't she? Or was it just housing authority? I think there was some court stuff. But I think that she is more schizophrenic. But, when you have a mental illness, it does cause you to focus on yourself, regardless of what your diagnosis is, or a mental disorder, anxiety, depression, it overtakes your body. Borderline, BPD, everything is trying to get that brain right. And it's a reaction to it. Their triggers are different. Some are internal, some are external. And when you don't know what it is, like I saw today, a friend of mine has struggled with some mental illness. She's been a prostitute. She's been exotic dancer, sexually abused, I believe, I'm not going to, I think some family members. And she seems really sweet. She does overly post how beautiful she is, and very risque, for very risque sometimes. And right now it's more, I don't want to go there. She was diagnosed as bipolar, and just recently, after 25, 30 years, they're now like, oh, it's borderline. And that's the thing, these psychiatrists, psychologists are getting it wrong. That's how hard it is to truly understand these things. And I was talking about that personality disorder, personality test, just personalities in general. And some of these questions, this one only had 39 questions. No, there's another page, like maybe 50, 60 questions. But like for this one, I'll just read one. Mark the letter that corresponds with how you would describe yourself. And this is just one. I'm opinionated, nurturing, inventive, outgoing. You got to pick. So I'm outgoing and nurturing. So now what? And then you got to rack your brain, like, and it depends right now, am I, now that, my daughter's grown, do I pick outgoing because I'm, not so much in the maternal role? And so it can be skewed, they're trying to guide it down. But I had, for my red there was 3 that I marked for red. And that seems to be narcissistic. But when I was going through, trying to think, it didn't seem I could pick any of them. And I think that's why I got 3. Like bossy, self-critical, reluctant, and a teaser. That's just one of them. I don't really, you know. And then 2, what reluctant on what, you know. So it's hard to narrow it down. And it's due to interpretation. Have you ever taken tests where it's either a double negative or they word it in such a way that um, you're like the back of the room. Some people, you have a doorway in the middle. What's the back of the room to them? Or trying to give a good example on the cuff, but I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. So let's talk about John. Well, thank you. I'm trying. Yeah, it's like I don't mind doing videos because you're interacting with me, but yeah, you sit there and talk. It's like talking to the kids sometimes. Sit down, sit down. Today was not a good day. It was not a good day. I had kindergartners. I have them for an hour, and they could not get it together. They knew there'd be a reward because it was one of the little girls' birthday, so they were supposed to have cupcakes. They knew their basic teacher or gen ed teacher was telling them, you have to act right or you're not getting the cupcakes. The mother of the little birthday girl said, this only goes to the kids that are acting the right way. And they couldn't get it together. And this one little boy, I mentioned too, none of us are perfect. And you're doing all the right teaching techniques, and you're about to lose your mind. You're like, this has been 40 minutes of hell. You're like, sit down. And then they kind of snap to it because you can't. The room is so big and you got to get everybody's attention. Some are close to you, some are far away, some are running all around, some are cutting stuff and scissors and glues. And so you got to get their attention. And I try not to yell. Some of those kids I'm starting to see that they're not so fazed by it. And this one little boy, he was fazed. He's a people pleaser. So he's just either just a really good kid, but sometimes kids can turn, and I don't think he is. I think he's going to have a great life. But sometimes kids he doesn't seem grandiose. I think if you're grandiose or vulnerable, and well, okay, no, it could apply. So he is used to soft spoken, and he probably comes from a very healthy family. Is told responsibilities, how to act, and done. The parents just did it in the right way. Instead of ordering him around, they would give him choices or give him warnings so he knew what to expect. In 2 minutes, it's time to go to bed. Here's the clock. You can look at the timer. It counts it down. And he looks flustered. And he came up to me. He's like, am I doing good? Am I doing good? And he has this worried look. And I sat him, I got down to his level and I said, you're always so good for me. I don't think I'd ever really need to yell at you, and I said, I'm sorry, I'll try not to do that. He needed comfort at that time that I was not mad at him, because sometimes I see things as a whole and I have to be a little bit better. I've been really working on it, where I don't say, none of you listen, all of you are acting out, which I really try to say to the ones I try to acknowledge and comfort the ones, but relationships can be hard because I am an authority figure and they're supposed to listen. They don't make my job easy, but all and they're kids, they're still learning. They're still coping, just like with language. It took us how long to get our language? It takes time to develop, and that's what the brain does. And when those connections aren't made, like as an analogy, my connection to Chinese was I studied for months, even went over there, practiced the characters so I could try to recognize them more, the pronunciation, and I was doing really good on Duolingo. And I'm trying to commit this stuff to memory. And they want you to when you start getting up in the levels, you got to pick the picture. And it wasn't setting in my mind. My mind thinks in different ways. There's different ways to teach people. And just like with this personality thing, different types of connections. Some kids learn kinesthetically with their movements and hands, and others are visual, others are auditory through their ears. And to be the best that we can be, we have to have things according to our needs, just like our medications. Certain medications are fantastic. And what's interesting to me is Ritalin. I used to think it was a bunch of BS. I think they overprescribe it most definitely. But I used to think these kids don't need it. And then I was teaching severely emotionally disturbed children down in Florida. And at 10:45 every day, I'm like, what's going on? Like it's like the kids were changing. And it was just within a few minutes. Yay, Brian's here too. John and Brian. Oh, this might be a different Brian. Is this? I don't know the last name. Hi, Brian. It's good to see Brian back. Brian, have we chatted before? Is this the one who doesn't like my masculine videos? Or this might be a new Brian. Good to see you, Brian. We're just kind of talking away. John's been a long friend of mine. Pretty much from when I started this situation. He had a nice little run-in with somebody who really kind of screwed him over. And Brian, feel free to let me know your situation. We were just talking about the emotional state of the narcissist and how people perceive things differently, and how I have to handle the kids in a different way. You have to handle a narcissist in a different way. And with the grandiose and vulnerable, and then flip-flopping. So here you can be, you don't want to over encourage them, because if you're like, I don't know, you're the most fantastic lover, and they're like, no, I have erectile dysfunction, or whatever their situation is, you're accepting of it, working through it, whatever. But it's gonna make them feel self-conscious, where you're like, no, and you truly mean it. They're still not going to see it because of their low self-esteem from whatever they're going through. And that's just an example. But the vulnerable, either way, they both have to be right. I've heard so many arguments. They argue in different ways, whether they're grandiose or vulnerable, because the grandiose are more dismissive, kind of like, fuck it, I know you're going to stick around. But the vulnerable get into those yelling arguments to gain control. And they can, both my neighbor and my one of my best friends, live in mate, whatever, they told them to go kill themselves. They'd be better off dead, to their face. And this is somebody you love. Like, I can never imagine telling somebody, just go do it. Just go do it. And I've heard other people do that. Kind of like, I'm sick of you bitching. If you were going to do it, just fucking go do it. And it's like, you never know if it's a cry for help, and sometimes people's experiences make a difference. My aunt has tried to commit suicide several times, and she wasn't joking around. She was lucky to be found in time, because she did it at their house. They have a 3-story house with a basement. So that's 4 stories. And she left a suicide note, and her husband ended up finding it. Oh, can they change? Oh my goodness. This is the hard part. Brian, it's so good to see you. For a while. I'm glad you asked me that. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm going to give you an analogy, and we're going to get into it more outside the analogy, but this is a good analogy. I had a lot of broken bones growing up, so I wasn't as active. I also had an older brother who ate a lot, so I couldn't really get around, and I thought that's how much you were supposed to eat, and I gained some weight. Hormones kicked in, and so I wore a size 16, really tight 16, should have been 18. I was lucky how I carried it. I just looked thick and no rolls or anything. But that's, I'm 6'1", big girl. And I was lucky to how I carried it. But I lost the weight, got down to a size 7. And then my hips changed when I had my daughter. So now I'm in a size 5. And I kept that weight off. Size 7 when I was 18. No, okay. I got down to a 13 when I was 18, got down to a 7, got pregnant with my daughter. And then so for 30 years, I've been the same size, 30 years. And it might fluctuate 1 or 2 pounds, but it's about the same. Recently, I've put on some weight, and granted, it's because I started drinking wine. But I was heavy before, and 30 years have gone by, and I'm conscious of it. I'm losing the weight, but it's just like that. With the narcissist, something's going to trigger something, and are they aware? With your, I'm assuming it's your spouse. Does your spouse think that they're wrong on some things? Do they process that at least there's an issue that they might have some part in it? Because I had talked to my one of my exes, and they didn't understand what I was saying. They did not understand it. And you try to explain it, they see it from a different perspective. So the self-aware narcissists that you see out there, they're high on supply. They're YouTube famous. So their egos are stroked that way. Their wives came back. They're not going through a crash right now. So they still say they still struggle. Another one, I believe he's single. But he still has issues. He's pretty good on how he responds to people. He's trying. And that's the thing. Like they can be compassionate, but trigger them and they're like, fuck you, motherfucker. They'll word something on their comments that shut it down. Like, I am not listening to you. And it's like, whoa, you don't have to agree with me, but, and I get it. The comments were kind of crappy. Like one female, she had a comment. She was trying to help people. She was trying to help people. And somebody said something against all narcissists. And that's like a jab at her. Like, she is trying to help. She's trying to do good. So in this relationship that you have with your spouse, there's going to be triggers. And if you do everything right, this is where it gets tricky. If you do everything right, they're going to devalue you. They need that push-pull dynamic, the thrill of the chase. And that's where we have to be strong in who we are. And we're going to have to let the water fall off the duck's back, that if it's going to work, but that's giving in to them all the time. There has to be compromise. If they're not willing, is she willing to compromise, Brian? That's where it makes a difference, because they have to be committed. They have to invest. And I just got done doing a video as an analogy about why it's so much harder on us. So the analogy was, we're cleaning house. Our house is our relationship. In the beginning, it's beautiful. We invested. We have, hi, is it Rashima? Rashima? It's Rashima. Rashima is my guess. So let me know, Rashima, if I'm saying it the right way. I hope so. So you got this beautiful house, which is the love bomb stage as the analogy. And it starts to get a little dilapidated. And we're like, we got to fix this. We got to fix our relationship. We got to fix our house. So we start cleaning it. And as we're going through cleaning it, we're seeing that the narcissist is just doing a little bit, just doing the bare minimum at this time. And we're going through, and as we're seeing what we're cleaning, we come across a spot. We get a washcloth and clean that spot. Now we got to go down and put this in the laundry. We got now we got the lint. Now we got to take out the garbage. And now the out on the porch, you see the dust. You see the windows. We see everything that needs to be fixed. So they come in and they're looking around like everything's fine. Okay, whatever. I'll fold the towels. And that's what it is in the relationship. Like, okay, I'll have breakfast with you on Saturday. And they think it's fine. Like this is not that big of a problem because we've taken care of the relationship. So we have to back out. We have to have them invest more. And it just depends if they're willing. I need Ra. Is it Rashima or Rashima? I got the Ra. I don't know if it's Shima or Shima. Shima? Shima? Do a Y if it's Shima. I'll take that as a I. And a double E if it's Shima. So, yeah, I love learning new names. And we got from Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm in Michigan. And John, I believe you're not Canadian. You're U.S., aren't you? I'm trying to remember. I love people from all over the world. I've only been to Canada and China, and I'm from America, but there's so many beautiful places out there. And that's the thing too. We'll relate it to that. Traveling, the beautiful places. Think about your relationship. Um, oh, okay. Shema. It's a double E, but she. Shema. Shema. No, that could be right. I'm so sorry. Double E if it's E. Um, A. Eh. Shema. Well, I feel bad. I'll have to look that name up. I'll have to figure out how to pronounce it. So, because Shima, perfect. Perfect. We figured it out. Or Shema. I don't know if you're trying to spell she. This gets confusing. And this is exactly what I'm talking about because I'm thinking, I just said a double E, and this is fun because this helps us learn. Because I had said a double E if it's E, and then I did the vowels a e, o, u. And she spelled SHE. So I'm like, is that the word she, or is she trying to say ma? So that's where little things like that, though. Communication gets difficult because I see a little piece of evidence that she's trying to say she, but she's like, no, she's trying to say SH. And she could be still saying SHEE, but I think it's not the EE. So that was just a minute of me trying to figure out one letter. So we're trying to figure out a whole entire relationship, And I'm doing it with a kind heart. I'm sure she's has a kind heart. And there I go, assuming it's a female, just based on the name. I don't know. Little pieces of evidence. And the evidence that we have with our narcissist, a lot of times is built on lies. So that's where it gets extremely hard is what do we believe? We're trying to communicate. There's already those barriers, just like pronouncing a name. And I apologize. Shema. I hope that's right. And that's the other thing too. I have a lot of respect for people. Our names mean a lot. And you are a female. I thought so. And that's what's so nice is she's not yelling at me. She's not giving me a hard time. She's like, it's okay. I know you're trying. And the effort, we do try because we have respect. I don't want to go, whatever. It's, I'm busy. I'm doing a YouTube. I don't care what her name is. I'm just going to say it this way. I had respect for her. I've never met her. And our narcissists don't even give us that common courtesy. So back to, can a narcissistic spouse really change? And Rashima, go ahead and tell me if you have some questions. Um, but can they really change for a little bit? Now, my first one was 30 year 28 years ago is when we broke up. We have a daughter together. Terrible, 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 horrendous. Destroyed my life, even when we were not together. And I've seen him. We have grandkids together. I've seen him over the years. When the second one was born, he was cordial. We even sat and watched a movie together because we both stayed at my. I had a place, let my daughter live with her and her boyfriend before they got married with the baby. And since she lived there, she asked if it was okay. And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. Um, and I just did my own thing. And he would, um, he was cordial. He was cordial, but not outgoing. It was weird. We could have some conversations to kind of chill, but it wasn't very much effort until like 4 years later. He saw me carrying in presents, and he was at least nice to offer to help carrying one load. So they can go from destroying your life to carrying in a box of presents. But when you're in that situation, we had 28 years in between. 28 years till it's like, fine, I'm carrying it. I can be nice, I guess. And when you're, you have to, part of it is you have to change too on how you communicate. I did that personality test, and I want you guys to hear the difference between the needs and the wants. So the red personality, which I believe is narcissistic. Oh, well, I hope you like me. Yeah, it can be a parent and your mom. So were they both hard on you, or was one where they lifted you up, or they were both hard on you? Yeah, so you didn't have the conflicting. Sometimes too, they just expect things from us, so they're hard on us. So that can be abuse too. You're not as good as your brother, or why why can't you be better at this? You should be a doctor or whatever. But the red needs to be right, respected. They need to hide their insecurities. So, yeah, I kind of had a feeling for some reason. I thought it was the other way around, just did. But, I wonder if your mom's a little jealous of you, because I know you're beautiful. Um, oh gosh. And that's the thing. Yeah, I get that. So she has a baby, and the dad of the is being hard too. So when we communicate with them, we got to watch out for triggers, and that they take things personally. Um, and it's hard. Like, even coming up with examples is hard. It's a different way than I talk. And I gave an example. If I said, I want you to say the word purple every time you're about to say the word car, um, or broom. We'll say broom. Or trying to think of a good, but for you to try, we'll say the word the. Say purple before you say the word the, and you have to think it's a beautiful day out. Purple, the sky is great. Purple, the dogs are out. And it's like, that's kind of how we have to like slow our thought process down to communicate with them, because we have to make sure we don't say it in the wrong way. If you say get the keys, and they're like, do you think I'm stupid? Like, you think I don't know? So it's like, okay, I gotta soften it. They take it as a personal attack. We're just kind of like, oh, we're I got the bags, I got this, get the keys. And you have to, it can be an insult to them. They can see it as you trying to be bossy. It is kind of a bossy way to say it, but we get flustered too, so we have to watch out for that, because little things like that'll be a trigger. And when you stand up for yourself, it's a trigger, because we didn't set the boundaries in the beginning, or we did, but we let them break it. We have a forgiving heart. So they saw that as a weakness as soon as so now the relationship is, they're in charge. Your wife, Brian, or I believe you said, yeah, spouse, um, or I don't know your situation, but um, so they're in charge, and you're, it's like the king and the peasant. And the peasant telling the king or queen, like, no, this is how it's going to be. You will listen to me. It's good. And when you talk to a narcissist, it's like a child, and you have to talk to them kind of like a teacher would. This is the expectation. And you have, it's almost like you have to remind them, but they also have grown, and they're going to feel you're talking down to them. And in a sense, you kind of are. We just want to talk normal, like, hey, what do you think about this? Would you like to go on a trip with me? And they could sometimes even just something like that, like, oh, you think I don't take you anywhere that you have to ask? I had mine, first one, where we were engaged for 10 months or so at that time. He took me to the store to pick out what I wanted. And I told him, this is just what I said. I said, I want the one that you pick, and he was kind. He wanted to see what I would like. And I don't know what he would have bought if I didn't say that, but it meant something to me. You pick it out. But maybe he wanted me to, he could see, oh, she doesn't care. So months went by, and it was, I don't know why my mind is thinking it's 4-month payment plan, but I don't know. But he had the ring for a while, and I never gave it to me. And I had said, do you think, and I was like, oh, I never ask for stuff, never. But our wedding is like 3 weeks or 3 months away. And usually girls get it. I'm not materialistic, but it's kind of like, we went to go pick it out, and so that's out of my character to ask. And so he told me that, he's like, you need to be humble. I was going to give it to you so you could feel proud of it when you went to your cousin's wedding, but now that you asked, you can't have it. And it's like, I wasn't trying, should I have asked? I maybe should have waited, but I waited 10 months, and we send out, and we're getting married. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. So you're believing now she is jealous. I don't even have much. Okay. So yeah, sometimes it's the littlest things, something that was important to her. You have the best pots and pans. Like, that's not fair. And her house is, let's say, worth, 200,000 more than yours, but she's so pissed off that her daughter gets the nice dishes or whatever. And that's something to think about too, because I get what you're saying. That you feel like you're never going to heal. And I think it's Rashema. I think Rashema. I think so. We do start feeling, is it ever going to get better? This is where it will get better, is when we start believing in ourselves. So your statement right there, which I can relate to, and I'm not discounting it. Change the way you say it. I will heal. Because our thoughts become our, I'm trying, but we believe that we're not. Oh, well, come on back if you can, or if not, we'll catch back up again, or they can join in. I thought that was Rashma saying that she had to go. Samantha again. I've talked to Samantha. So good to see you. So we're talking about spouses. Will they ever change? This will probably help you too. And then John, I hope you're still here. Say hi to everybody. John's a very kind, loving soul. Overcame a lot. So John, maybe you can update people. Can we heal from this? Now, Rashama, or I'm trying to say it the right way. Rashama, Rashama. I think that's it. I think that's it. Can you let me know how long you've been with the person? And also, Brian, that'll help me kind of understand. I know Samantha's story, but tell me how many years or months you guys have been together. Because the longer you're with them, the longer that pattern's been put in place. And the longer the abuse has been on us. You put your finger on a hot stove, it sizzles the top layer, but you hold it there for a long time, it's really damaged. You hold it there for, I don't know, an hour or a day, a week, it's going to disintegrate. Your finger's going to be gone. We feel like we're gone. Our soul is gone. How do we heal it? I'm a burn victim. And sometimes you have to pack wounds, or debris them, get rid of the toxicity, the dead skin. So it's an action. You can't just sit there with your burn and expect it to heal correctly. Or if you want it to heal to the best, and these are analogies, I talk a lot in analogies. You want it to heal the best, there's going to be some damage, but you want it the best, there's an action. There's a method to it. You have to put a lotion on. It's not Victoria's or Bed Bath and Beyond. It's not just, it's a special lotion. The better, the Sylvadine, you use the right stuff. So if we use the right tools to heal, we have to think about it consciously. Just like, if the nurses are like, oh, I don't know, this is creamy and it's, sour cream, that can make it worse. So we have to make sure that we are using the right techniques to heal. And there's a lot of bad information out there. So make sure it's from a trusted source. They have, what's his name? Andrew Tate. Is that Andrew Tate? You listen to him and some it's like, oh my gosh, yeah. But he is such, I don't even know if, definitely, he's such a grandiose narcissist. I don't know if he's a sociopath. I don't know. He's into polyamory, and I'm not judging on that, but his way of my way or the highway. Usually polyamorous relationships should be where they all agree, we're all agreeing. That's going to be hard, but his is so double-sided, one way, and controlling, and get out. I'm done. There's no emotion. So I know, Brian, you're invested. I can tell. Otherwise, you want to ask that question. It seems like you want to save it. And that's the thing, too. Do you see what I'm doing right here? Is you guys are saying certain things, and I'm delving deeper into what you're saying. Just like Samantha, you said the word need, and you capitalized it before our first visit. You said it in capitals, and you said the word need instead of want. And when we're dealing, and I'm not saying you guys are narcissists, but when we are dealing with our narcissists, we have to look at their words and really get to know, like, they will use words to manipulate. And that's where it gets confusing because, if you're like, did you sleep with her? Did you sleep with her? No. And they'll twist our words again. And then you feel like you're badgering. Did you insert this into this? You don't want to talk to somebody like that. You're like, okay, it's kind of slang. Everybody knows what sleep means. I'm not asking, did you snore next to her? I'm asking, what I'm asking. And they choose their words wisely. And my degrees in criminal justice deal with lie detection. I'm fascinated by words. I don't know why. I love languages. And word choice says a lot. That when my father died, I instantly changed the word to was, instead of is. And it's subconscious like that. So if you're, if they're lying, you're going to catch them in those, my grandmother is a great cook. You're like, I thought you said your grandmother died. They would say was. And to go through like fine tooth comb uh, is hard. And the trauma bond is terrible. Yeah. Because, it's almost like constant reassurance. Now they break us down with the intermittent reinforcement, where we turn into Pavlov's dog. We don't need is Tamaya. Am I saying it right, Tamaya? I think so. Is it Tamaya? I don't think it's Tamia. Is it? If it's Tamaya, say yes. Otherwise, let me know how to say it. Good to have you. The trauma bond. And Brian, I'll touch on yours within this. Um, we're in a trauma bond, and we have to decide, is it worth it? Are we happier or sad most of the time? The research says that like, and this one was on borderline, but you have to look at the stakes. Are the stakes worth it? Some of us stay because of our kids, but we're damaging them. Is it safe for them? We feel unsettled, and we have to go through the actions of breaking the trauma bond. It's so hard because we were reinforced that it's going to be okay. Can we do, or we were badgered, belittled to where we don't think that we're strong enough. We're either shot down so much. Yeah. And you have to grieve. There are 5 stages of grief. I have a video on that, but you have to get to the acceptance part. And just like the burn analogy, it's going to take steps. Otherwise you can be stuck in this because our brains have been damaged. I have videos on the brain damage that's done to us, and we have to fight that to get our brains back, to get I still feel weird. I feel weird. So it's kind of like I relate it like the narcissist must feel something, because I went through the trauma because of my narcissist. And I'm walking down the hallway, and part of me, it's almost like a dissociation or something. Not 100%, but like 20% is not quite there. Like I feel weird. I get what you're saying. And there's times, you either get panic attacks or you cry, you're stuck. And that's where we have to do something for us. Go ahead. There are times you have to get extra sleep, but pay attention to your diet. And, I'm not necessarily saying you have to go to the gym and work out, but walk around the mall, or, run up and down your flights of stairs twice. Not even necessarily for the exercise. It is good to get exercise, but it gives, you hear runner's high. There's endorphins that we get. And for the children's sake, a lot of times, we have to think that we want the best for our kids. We want the best for our kids. They probably have a nice place to live. So when we make that decision, is a nice place to live more important than our mental health and safety? It's nice having a nice place, but can we get by? And I know, Samantha, you're stay at home. So you'd have to give up some time with your children to go back to work, or you don't want to move back because mom and dad, it wasn't a good situation, if I remember correctly. So we feel lost. But we have to believe and know that we can do it. But if we believe that we can't do it, I keep telling you guys I'm a teacher. And I was lucky. See, I say the word lucky, and that's self-degrading. That's I because when I took a teacher's test, okay, I took 5. I have 4 endorsements. Most teachers only do the major test. I passed all 5 on the first time. And I just go in there and I'm like, you're going to do it. And I don't overthink it. And when you're going through your life is like a test. You have to go, I know I can do this. I know I'm prepared for it. So there is preparation time that you're going to need. And that's part of the mental stuff. Even if it's like, what do I need to do? We'll go over some more of that. But do they ever change? I know some of us are like, I love this person. Do you love them more than you love yourself? Because it should at least be, two become one. And, there's times it's like, yeah, I would die for the person. And I get that. And I probably would love somebody like that. But I kept telling my ex that I would die for you. But I'm not going to die because of you. I'm not going to just shoot myself, end up dead, so I can say, see, told you. There's no purpose in it. There's no like he was thankful, like to have somebody, and this didn't happen, but obviously, but to have somebody laugh at you, like you stupid. Oh my God. Yeah, she killed herself for me, but there's no purpose in it. So think of, why are you staying? Are you staying because you're scared to leave? Are you staying because you think you can't do better? Do you need somebody in your life? And I'm not saying that's good or bad. That's for your personal stuff. What makes you happy. Your husband has never provided us a stable living situation. A lot of narcissists, mine luckily were very professional and pretty stable, but yeah, other ones quit their jobs. A lot got evicted in November because landlord was intimidated by your husband. And this is the guilty by association type thing. I had a viewer ask me, should I, my friend is friends with somebody who's narcissistic. Should I continue being friends with her? And those kind of things kind of wear off on people sometimes. And just like you lost a place to live because of his bad attitude. That changed your life. That's a detriment to you. You didn't do anything wrong. And, I don't know. I also went to law school. I've had so much education, but the law might have changed, but they had, let's say you're not doing anything wrong, but you go into a house of prostitution and you're not planning on doing anything. You're not going to work and you're not going to be the John. You're just there. If you go there because your friend wants to go play with someone, you can get lewd and lascivious, and you're like just standing in a building. So because she was just standing in her own home, standing in her own building, got punished, just like that person in a brothel or whatever. I don't know if that means legal. Like, I don't want to say whorehouse. I don't like saying that. But prostitution, house of prostitution. So I hope that analogy made sense. But do they change? They have to want to. Because just like we want to change, it takes effort. It takes going by our wants and needs. Now, there's 3 that seem non-narcissistic, just variations. That red is very insecure, has to be in charge. You see that with your narcissist. And, like for us, needs and wants. And I'll just go across. I won't read them all, but to be to feel good inside, independent, to the white personality kind of hides personality or hides insecurities too. It's interesting the way they laid it out too. But the needs and wants between the two people, these would be a good match. But we have to think. And when we start overthinking, because we want it so much, it's going to keep us stuck in it not getting better. The only way for it to work is to not care as much. But the narcissist is already in that spot where they're going to take advantage of it. You could if you both loved each other, it would take its course where I'm missing time with you and you're backing off, so I'm going to come closer to you. Where you want to spend time, where you're not irritated. The narcissist focuses on the negative, and they also don't see the full picture based on that house analogy of us, where we didn't mean to micro clean. We were just trying to build our relationship back up. But as we're going here, we're like seeing what is wrong. Like you stay out late. Why do you stay out late? Can't you come home? And then you hear they're cheating. They don't always cheat, or you lied about this and now we start seeing it unfold, and we try to clean it, which is us spoon feeding them the relationship. I want to make them happy. So, I did all this work, and we're putting in more effort. So we're neglecting the other people so in our lives. So now that we're neglecting them, unless we're whole. Now, remember, we've been beat down. We're not whole. And we focus on them. We start needing validation from them. When we came into the relationship, it felt good. We both liked each other. And then we start feeling like we're hated sometimes. And then we're loved. And you're like, what is it? And it changes daily. And there are times that we do misunderstand them, but usually if there's a misunderstanding, it's healthy to talk about it. They don't like to talk about it. Now we have triggers. We have triggers now. And it's hard. You have to be, I don't know. Can it change? Let me give you another example. Told you I'm a teacher. I swear sometimes I try not to, but I obviously kind of, it's like easier sometimes, or gets a point across. And I also, I get it, but who decided certain words are swear words? Like, I don't know. Like, what's the difference between damn and dang? Like, why is one like, the other one's like, yeah, I don't know. But since I guess maybe it puts more importance, so it means something more. So that's why sometimes I use it, and sometimes I use it in layman's term. I don't know, where it doesn't need that much. So I'm super teacher, right? So I'm doing everything right, and I'm watching my language. I know I'm at school. I shouldn't swear, and doing everything right for years. And something happened. I'm like, damn it! Like somebody ran into me, like really hurt me. I'm like, ooh, it just slipped out. Like I knew where I was. I knew not to do that. I've been training myself not to, just do it around adults. And it just slipped out. I had a trigger. I was hurt and it slipped out. So no matter how much I tried, a trigger happened and I swore. The narcissist is going to go through the same thing. You forget to pick them up one time. And, it could be like a legitimate reason. Like I was all stressed out. Like, I was waiting on my lab results. I didn't know what was going on. If I had to be admitted to the hospital, so they're all pissed off. They could, go crazy sometimes. Yeah, it keeps calling. And this is the thing, kids, please listen to this. The kids internalize that. And I see it in the school system. And they start believing they're stupid. Um, uh, what do you mean, healthy shaming them? That they're calling the children's names like stupid and you healthy shaming them. I don't know what you mean by you healthy shaming them. Are you talking about me or you're talking about you? I don't think you're talking about you. Healthy shaming. I'm not sure what you mean by that. That they don't eat right or that. Oh, okay. Okay. um, that's why the space is. So unhealthy types of shaming. Either you're fat, you're stupid, you're lazy, you're not as good as your cousin, this, that. What should you do when that's actively happening? Stand up for your kid. They need at least one kid to stand up and one adult to stand up. Children need at least one person, and you're going to be that person, Samantha, that you're going to stand up for those kids, make a difference in their lives. Don't let it go by. And this is where it gets hard. Um, I told you, I've talked to Samantha before that, I'm the submissive type, and that I have the old fashioned values on marriage, but there's a time that you do need to stand up, and, you can talk to him. Uh, you might want to talk to him and let him know that we cannot do that because and we talked about their type of personality where they need for the keys to relating to a narcissist. You're going to need to have facts, figures, present issues logically, be direct, brief, and specific. So you can't go there and go, it really hurts his feelings. He's such a good little boy and he's got good grades. And, we need to build him up because if we don't build him up, no, you need to say statistical evidence says when you call a kid stupid, they absorb it and it changes their life 80% of the time or whatever the facts and figures are. And then they might process it, but it's hard to change habits. You're going to have to show them like, look, you can even say, sweetheart, I love you. And I know it's frustrating being a parent sometimes. I feel that way too, but we cannot do that. And this is why I feel we can't do it. Can we make a commitment to both of us not doing that? It's important for our kids' mental health. I understand your frustrations. You can even say, if you need a break, I will take the kids at that time and you can, take some time for yourself. And kids absorb it. It'll be lifelong. I promise you. It'll be as long as they get stuck in low self-esteem. But it'll give them triggers. And even if they heal for the most part from it, they're going to struggle. So let's say they build their self-esteem back up. Okay, so they're whole again, just like we were fairly whole, if not, nobody's perfect. But it's going to be a trigger for them. It will be a trigger for them. And, be careful too on overcompensating. You can't overcompensate. You can't build them up, don't be dismissive like, well, daddy had a bad day, so daddy says some bad words, but, don't make excuses for dad. Don't make excuses. Focus on your kid. I know that. Or tell me how that makes you feel. And let them express, it hurts my feelings. I feel hurt. They need to be heard. And you have to be their advocate. So I'm glad that I said that because that's what I'm doing. I stand up every time. It's hard to hear, but it's not hard to defend my children ever. And you're taking notes. I love it. But uh, when we stand up, sometimes when they're in the vulnerable state, um, men are usually more physical than women. Not always. Some women are berserko, but that's a dangerous time. Either way, male or female. That when it becomes in that toxic stage, if if they have been aggressive, um, you know, that's a danger time. Also, the most dangerous time, according to statistics, is when you leave. So it gets scary. And, you know, my first one, like I said, we were supposed to get married. Then he wanted to postpone the wedding. So it was supposed to be somewhat loving time. We're in love so much. We're getting married. And he probably got cold feet and uh, couldn't give me a reason or like till when or why. And I left. Some of it was religious, some of it I was scared. I still wonder, but you saw the true colors. So we parted, and uh, it's crazy. About to get married, and now, but during like he used our the custody battle to control me, um, and I've none of them involved drugs, alcohol, or sex. Didn't bring any like gangster dudes with me, and there's no threat that was involved. And 59 police reports against me. I have no criminal record as far as like stealing, or I don't have a criminal record except for him. And 59. I asked a cop, what does the average felon have? And all of those would have been misdemeanor things, but not felony. But I said, the average felon, how many police reports? He's like, I don't know, maybe maximum 8 or 9. That's for your average felon. What does that tell you? Um, you know, they can be brutal. 4 custody battles. I don't have 4 kids, I have 1. They can't take no, you didn't win. No, she is okay. And, they'll keep going. They just want to win. That's what's important to them. But I see you said it's not hard to defend my children. And make sure in your mind that you mean what you say, because you do. But are you getting deeper into it? We really got to get deeper. And I love you, Samantha. I just want you to take my words to heart. You can disagree with them if you want. But you said I need, and I get that need. I understand it. I need to be with my kids because that's, sometimes we feel that's our purpose in life, But being maternal, I see you want to protect them. I see that. And the scary part is sometimes we don't see the forest through the trees. Yeah, that's right. That we're focused on. I'm going to make sure that I'll stand up, that he will never call him stupid again. The forest, the screaming, the argument, the uncomfortable, the getting evicted, even just moving is a high stress. Most divorces are a lot. Let me reword that. The high stress, marriage, divorce, marriage and divorce, both separate. Moving, loss of job, loss of parent. Those are like the high stress things that can affect relationships. So does your kid go to bed feeling safe? Like right now, call me stupid. Just don't make me feel unsafe when I go to bed. I'm not going to like being called stupid, but I want to sleep feeling safe. So I don't know if he screams, yells. Are you happy? You're staying for the kids. Are you what's your purpose in wanting to work it out with them? And that's fine. Sometimes it can be religious, sometimes it can be financial. And this is just stuff that you should, understand for yourself. And then I can help you better too when I understand your needs, because you have needs too. And, just like right now, which I don't believe you are, but if, you were a narcissist, I'm like, no, you need this. And I'm like giving you the wrong information because I don't know you. And, you know, uh, we don't know our narcissist. They, they flip flops. So it's like they're two different people. Who are we going to deal with when you talk to them? Do you talk like, look, stop yelling at the kids. It's not tolerable. Or are you like, hey, we're going to try this new thing. We're not going to yell at the kids. We're going to do it this way. I read on blah, blah, that all you got to do is this, and it really helps them. So can we do this? You don't know who you're talking to. And there's different ways to communicate. What's going to be effective that day? With the kids, he keeps threatening me that some man is going to land me in the hospital because of talking back. Now I am not and I understand it. I am not talking back. Oh, now I am not talking back in the sense of mocking or calling him names. I'm strictly defending the kids. So are you saying you used to mock him? Who was the mocker? You or him? But he's threatening her because of talking back. And I get it. Like, and they can see talking back, where you say, I don't agree. I don't agree. Quit fucking talking back. And it's like, I'm just telling you, I don't agree. I'm not saying you're wrong. I didn't call you a dumbass. I didn't call you, that's a stupid thing. Sometimes you might, I don't know, we go through reactive abuse. There's times we want to take charge too. So we could say, you're the dumb one in this situation, because we're frustrated too. We're not perfect. And that's, we have to remain calm. Our thoughts become our actions. He has made you feel very unsafe, Samantha. And, you're probably at least 5 feet tall. It's a lot bigger than your 2-year-old who's 2 feet tall. And, you can drive away, but your 2-year-old can't. They don't feel that if it gets bad, I can leave. They're like, this is it. That's a lot more scary, to threaten to land you in a hospital. And, sometimes we're like, I don't believe it. He's just saying stupid things. A lot of times they are, but just like suicide victims, there's a lot who are sad. They're, or manipulators, like, well, I'm going to kill myself if you won't come over and have sex with me. Or some, but those thoughts are in the head. That thoughts, and sometimes it grows. Like right now, I could see a picture of a hot fudge sundae. I don't know, and then I'm like, oh, it starts to build. Like, oh, I really want that. Like, I didn't realize how much I want it. It doesn't always grow, but sometimes it can. And the same with the words and thoughts that we put in our head. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. So she's never mocked him. Narcissists love to mock, like, saying back exactly what we say, but in a crappy tone. And you'll see that with the kids. I know you are, but what am I? Where you just don't get anywhere, round and round. They're just trying to cut us down, trying to keep the power. And the others too, feel free to, I'm pretty good at going between you guys to make sure you guys have some of your questions addressed too. I can kind of incorporate to help everybody. But I know Tamaya, the trauma bond, like you can see Samantha going through it. And we have to think, are we really thinking clearly? Because You guys might not be religious. I'm religious, but I don't think marriage is meant for you to be. It's to become one, and they've separated. They're treating us the wrong way. I'm not encouraging divorce. Like I religiously don't like doing that, but it's got to be safe. And for Samantha, that's 4 people that are being affected by one person. I believe there's 5 in her family, if I'm stating it correctly. 3 kids, her and her husband. 4 people are going to have lifelong trauma. You got Samantha and the kids. Stupid, uh, heavy or not tone, whatever the unhealthy is, lazy. You call them lazy. That's not going to encourage them. You can say, I bet you could lift that up. I know you can lift it. And they want to show off that they can lift it instead of saying, you're too lazy. The book's right there. Go pick it up, lazy ass. That's not going to stimulate them. And there's different ways to talk to people that make them feel safe. When people feel safe, it's so important. That's when you thrive. That's when you can think clearly. You feel safe going into a store. You have it more planned out on where you're going to go. You're going to be more conscious of what you're spending. But if you go in somewhere and you feel like you are unsafe, you're going to go in and out. You're going to hone in. I'm just going to go get my Diet Coke and I am out. You're not even looking if you're safe. Sometimes you do, but you scan. But you're missing out on the shopping experience. It's an analogy. You're missing out on your life because you're doing things quick or you're doing things the wrong way. And you hyper focus. When we start being hyper focused, we start developing our abandonment issues. Like we're hyper focused. And instead of having a whole life with all the people in our lives, we're honed in. We're missing out on so much of our lives for this one person who doesn't really care. And they also feel the pressure that we made them too important. Think about it. They talk about the pedestal, like love bombing pedestal. And then we're king and queen. And then they knock us down. The king or the queen of a kingdom feels a lot of pressure, a lot of responsibility. And you're 5'3". And you've gotten in the way of him. See, this is the thing. He's already trying to be physical, and they are not teenagers yet. Teenagers are difficult, emotional, and yeah. See, yeah. Yeah. Do you guys go to church together? People have to believe too. Like you can't just walk in a church and come out and be a religious person or a mosque or a synagogue, wherever you guys are going. A building is a building. So just him going to church doesn't necessarily mean it, but maybe ask him to pray about it, you know? But if they're not changing, Brian, if you're still here, let me know some of the things that have gone on for you. I think I'm new to this, so I don't know how many people, if it's including me or not. But what's your heart saying, Samantha, on what you should do? Are you feeling that you should stay? Safety is different. I don't think God wants us to. I don't know. There are times that we are given trials in our lives to help us grow. And why do bad things happen to good people? Sometimes I had a friend who she was with a guy, and he went back to his first girlfriend, or before her, and she's like, um, you know, why doesn't it work out for me? And sometimes people, she was meant to play a part, that maybe it was for him to realize that he was supposed to be with the first person. You know, usually there are victims when so many people are involved. Um, yeah, we start getting high. Well, and it's always on our mind. And yeah, there's times that we avoid certain things. Like, I know Joshua goes to that store and I don't even like him, but my husband thinks I do. So we start avoiding things, and that's giving him the control, you know? But it's like you can't win. If you're like, I don't like that guy, they're not going to, okay. And even if you're like, but I love you, or you're the sexiest man, or whatever we say, they're like, And we got to be careful too when you say, and the sexiest man in the world to me, um, because he can be, or I don't know him, um, but if you say you're the sexiest man in the world, he doesn't feel it, so he thinks it's a lie or an exaggeration. So just words really matter. Okay, yeah, he doesn't want to be vulnerable. Um, when you're and I have felt being vulnerable, because I went through all that abuse, and I went back to church. I was very uncomfortable because I was angry. I was angry, and I was like I took my dad because he had lost his leg, and church is super important to him, but it was like uncomfortable. So it might be uncomfortable for him, or there are some atheists out there, or it's just a waste of time. I'd rather do other things. Yeah, your heart. I get it. We're in love with the person, but what are we? Are you in love with somebody who yells at you? Are you in love with somebody who can't control their? He threw his hands. You blocked it, but you know, um, that I say to myself that I want it to be just my children. And that's the thing. Like, it's uncomfortable for you to think about going back to work, or you've been great with homeschooling them. You have to decide, what's more comfortable. And oh, it's terrible. Yeah. Yeah. It is like torture. And it's an unpredicted torture where you don't know when it's going to happen. And near the discard stage is it's going to happen. It's just going to explode, implode, whatever you want to call it. Um, in the last month, um, let me know. Has it gotten worse? Is it constant for the most part? Is it several times a day, or is it um, when is it more about the kids, or does he see you as the trigger? Um, because I think he will feel a power struggle between you guys, but the kids are weaker. Uh, because they haven't gone through life. They know they're smaller, so they know not to talk back. The kids hit him, but that'll get him to hit them. And if that happened, um, the kid's hit isn't really as harmful. So the kid knows that. So they're not going to attempt, like orcas have no natural predators because they know they're pretty much always going to win. Not always, but no natural predators. Nobody messes with them. And just like your husband, those kids aren't going to mess with me out. I'll be the predator. I just worry about the teenage years and even middle school. Middle school's hard. Middle school's more needy, and high schoolers are more mouthy. And this is just a generalization from my perspective. Yeah, I don't like breaking up families, but if he's willing to work on it. But he sounds like a vulnerable one right now. Lost. When he quits his job, he probably doesn't have another one lined up, does he? Or is he like, this is a better opportunity? And it's not going to be 100% either way, because sometimes they can get a different job and say, screw it, I'm out. But he's definitely gotta stop the mocking. Oh, I'm glad you brought that up. It stimulated something. When if you look at the actions of the narcissist, the hitting, the mocking, the yelling, whatever it is, and correlate it to how a child would act, that's their emotional maturity. And we all, slip back into our childhood when we're under stressors. But if he's doing the nanny, like, he's probably pretty young in his emotional state. And it gets confusing because we're like, wait, what? They were cool for a while. Well, the kids at my school are cool, calm, follow direction. They're also pretty good. Even the troubled ones are pretty good if you're one-on-one with them. But if you let them loose, or they don't quite understand, or there's a stressor, or the intense desire for something, that's when it's horrible. And that's like in the love bombing stage. Our narcissist as an adult, like, just like the kids can handle a nice conversation and not lots of hugs and staying a little more focused if you're doing a project they want. But you do something they don't want, that's when you get them either hitting, screaming, yelling, full-blown temper tantrums, leaving. I got some kids that leave the classroom. These are all coping mechanisms. You feel like somebody else needs to tell him he can't do these things, but I'm scared because he told me if I call the cops, honey, this is not good. You need to leave. Yeah, not cool. Not cool. That's my advice. Like the threats, you can't live with threats. You're staying because you're scared. You feel, have you ever said, I'll call the cops? Or because if he's the one that brought it up, he knows what he is doing is so shitty that you should call the cops. Like, I've never, ever, 52 years old, I've had conversations, I've been, but I have never turned it that way on to anybody I've ever talked to and said, if you call the cops, I will come at you somehow. I will retaliate. I've never felt in my heart that what's coming from me deserves that. Unless you brought it up, that changes how that conversation would be to where he feels threatened and he's responding to the threat. But if you haven't brought it up, he knows how shitty he's being. So if you can let me know if you brought it up, like, if you hit me, I'll call the cops. Do you know who started it? Sometimes we forget, can't remember.
In the last month, it's been consistent yelling, mocking us. He feels everyone else does things wrong and blasts us for the way we do things, and it gets old because he won't stop. Oh, Rashima, thank you. It was so nice having you. Oh, you just subscribed, and liked me. Thank you so much. Welcome to the channel, and I hope to see you again. I'll start doing some more live videos for you guys. I enjoy it. I can connect with you guys, and um, Rashama. I think that's how it is. Um, have a good night. Sleep well. And I'm craving some fruit now. Look at all that fruit. Take care. And he's in loss of control mode. He's feeling very uncomfortable. There's a stressor that he's actively in right now. I know my friend that I was telling you about with her man, she has a terrible abscess. Her toe, now you know it's my finger or thumb, but completely opened and split open down to the bone because she had such bad abscesses. And it's literally like, if you have kids, you probably cut your hot dogs. But if you've ever cut a hot dog down the middle, and it, you know how they kind of fray open when you put them in the microwave. Um, Mother. Aw. Okay, sweetheart, sleep good. Tuck you in. Good night, my daughter. Lots of love. Um, but should just call her daughter. It's easier. But so uh, oh, okay. So she's could lose her toe. She's gone through the antibiotics. It's finally getting better, but he's upset, and he is just horrendous because he's under a stress, and he is just pulling at everything like this that and it told her to go kill herself. She struggles with depression, and you know, she was sexually abused. We all have stuff we've gone through, and the stuff she went through was pretty bad. So she has some sadness, and over her toe that she's trying to take care of, and he's telling her to go kill herself because he doesn't see eye to eye with her. She has she's not perfect, you know. There's ways she could handle it, but sometimes we get fed up or scared. She doesn't. We don't know how to respond. Okay, yeah, that's okay. You're allowed to say that. That's kind of putting and I'll tell you what, like, um, you had every right to say that. You had every right to say it. So don't feel bad you said it. You're saying, look, this is getting this bad. I might need to bring the cops in. You know, check yourself. Stop it. Um, you have every right. Uh, so don't feel bad about that. You know, they didn't come at him with a knife, say fucking stop, or you know, um, oh my gosh, you know, my father passed away, and butterflies were the butterflies remind me of my dad. So I'm gonna take that as my daddy just said hi to us, send us some love. Um, but the abscess was terrible, and I had to drive. Um, you can see, I don't know. I probably shouldn't show everybody where I live. I had to drive across state to help her with her IV. He wouldn't help her with her IV. So what's pissing him off is she might lose her toe. He's pissed off about that. And sometimes that's out of caring. You don't know how to handle your emotions. So he's mad she might lose her toe, but he's not going to help her with her IV. Does that make sense? Well, fuck you then. You couldn't do things my way. So he's could help her save her toe. Um, you know, but you had every right to call the cops. But this is a thing, like, you shouldn't be walking on eggshells, you know, and the more you work, such a bad balance. During, you just give him a little bit more space, uh, have him invest more, and if he comes to, but see, they get mad. Yours sounds like an angry one. Where there's probably good times. There's probably good times, but um, I'll say it one more time. They need facts. Be careful not to say you. We all have to do that, narcissistic or not. We all have to stop saying um, you hurt me when you yell at me. It hurts my feelings. We have to say I feel. I feel disrespected, as opposed to you're so disrespectful, because that's like a different way of saying it. It's just a healthier way. So you can't say you won't stop. God, it's hard too, because I need you. So you can say I need you for me to feel safe. I need you to stop yelling at the kids, as opposed to saying you motherfucker are making us. You had the power to change us. Um, it's hard to do that sometimes, especially when we get agitated. In the middle of him yelling at the kids, mom mode comes on, and you're focused on the kids instead of this conversation. You're having the conversation, but you're protecting, and that's what we need to do. You know, gosh, do you think you would actually have somebody harm you to get that bad, where you'd need to go to the hospital? And that's the thing too. In law school, we talked about the eggshell skull defense, um, where if you go, oh, Cynthia, hey, wake up, or are you paying attention to me? And my skull cracks, because this happens. Oh, I know you didn't call. I assumed. It didn't seem like you called. But does he make you feel that he would follow through with that threat? Is what I'm asking. But with the eggshell skull theory, you take your victim as they are. There was the guy got a murder charge, or maybe it was manslaughter. It was a death charge, because he shouldn't have touched the guy's head. And I can't remember if it was a lamp that he hit it with, but it caused him to die. And so no matter how gentle you are, I can't remember if the lamp is related to that. I just remember the theory is it doesn't matter, you know. Um, it can negligent homicide is what I think it was, negligent homicide. So if you think it's funny to poke me with a safety pin right there and I bleed to death, then sorry about your luck. You shouldn't have touched me. I bled to death. You didn't know I had a blood disorder, and now I'm dead. Who's to pay the price? You know? So my point on that is it's hard to describe what I'm trying to say, is I don't know. You know, you never know how hard they're gonna attack you, you know? And sometimes too, we don't know the strength of our own body. Like, you know, you get punched in the stomach. Let's say I'm okay, but you didn't realize you had an enlarged spleen and you got punched in the gut and it ruptured. You know, you know, so there's things about our bodies we don't all know, and it could be more detrimental. Yeah, you're acting like a man because you're standing up for yourself. It is masculine energy, which is fine. I kind of uh, sexually I have, and not to where I want to be a guy, but where I'm like more the initiator or stuff, uh, instead of the submissive. So I know I say I'm submissive, but you know, that's just me. But as far as the standing up for yourself, I struggle with that. You know, I struggle with the masculine energy, and I know you're feminine, because you're not a dude. You're not acting like one. You're not acting like one. But women are bitches when we talk. We can say stop and we're bitches. A guy says stop and they're affirmative. It's not fair. So it's not really masculine energy. It's just seeing that we're overstepping our boundaries. And so, yeah, I don't even know if I'd say you and I have masculine energy. Uh, we're just people too. You know what I mean? Uh, and I think that goes back to the old fashioned way to where, you know, we're coming, but in today's day and age, we believe, you know, uh, to become one. And we both play different parts. You know, it's okay for men and women to be different. That, or even, you know, the new gender stuff that's going has been enlightened. Um, it complements the weaknesses, complement the other, and the strengths complement. But sometimes they clash. You know, certain colors go together, they complement, others clash. And it's changing. The lighting is changing, so it's changing the colors. Um, yeah, definitely you're being a mother. You're being a mother and a person. Um, maybe, you know, maybe you could look at it this way. Like, um, you're showing that you're a mother, and, you know, it's almost like his image of a wife is cook, clean, have babies, you know, do your chores or whatever you're supposed to do as a wife, be faithful, all those things. Uh, and I don't, I never got married. So to love, honor, cherish, you know, it doesn't say don't talk back, don't stand up for yourself. You think that in the heat of the moment, I'm afraid he'd hurt the kids. I don't think he'd ever be mean. He'd ever mean to, though. That's, yeah, yeah. Or even just, you're like, you know, just take this. And they just shoved a glass and the glass broke in their hand. Um, eh, or, you know, you grab them. There's times, you know, the kids giving them a hard time. Kids might, you know, look, I said, come back, come over here. And they just broke their arm. There's a lot of the pulling. A lot of kids have injuries, broken bones because of, you know, come here. Uh, so that's not even where he's like, he wasn't listening, told him to come here. So he might not even, but that aggression gets scary. My ex, uh, he was frustrated about our daughter crying. She was a baby, like 1 month. I don't even know. Um, what I don't even know if she was 1 month old, and she was crying and crying and crying, and she just wouldn't stop. And uh, he was trying to change her or dress her. I'm not sure if it was diaper or just he was at least putting on her sleeper. I think he changed her, and he was like, just like he was good, but he zipped up the zipper. He was good with her. He didn't, you know, just do the diaper. Um, he was good, but he zipped the zipper up and it went over her nipple. Her skin was caught in it, and I had to undo it. And for one thing, that does not stop the crying. If he would have thought it through, he could have hopefully stopped it earlier. And I'm like, you know, I talked to him calmly. I'm like, it's okay. Like, I know he didn't mean to hurt her. You know, he was frustrated. He thought he was just zipping it up. But he did hurt her. And, you know, I'm forgiving on accidents, but his aggression, frustration caused some damage. Like her nipple was caught in that zipper and it was hard to get out. And, you know, she can't communicate, didn't know what happened. And I'm sure that hurt. Um, all because she was crying. That's what babies do. And he's like, I don't get how you do it, you know? And I'm like, you just know that kids have needs, and she's not doing it to annoy us. She's trying to communicate. And we see it, as the loving mother, we see it as they're just communicating, whether it's they want to be held. Those are the basic needs. Love, touch. You need physical touch. And I'm just extremely firm regarding my children. There you go, girl. War paint, yes. And jujitsu stance. There you go. Don't fuck with me. Uh, that's not a little exaggeration. I know you got war paint, or at least blue eyeshadow. I'm just kidding. But good. Yeah, I'm glad you understand, because he didn't mean to hurt her, but his aggression did. And his agitation probably threw the energy off. And she probably felt his, as she's crying, trying to communicate, she's not settling back down. And it doesn't always happen, but sometimes they can sense, animals sense it. My dog is so weird that she'll come up and she'll put her hands here on me. Doesn't do it that often, but there's times where, it's not where I'm crying. Like, she just knows. She just knows. And it's usually it's weird. But yeah, I'd like you to do some thinking on what to do, because we want to protect. It's like the frog in the boiling water. They don't realize it's about to kill them. And I'm not saying it's going to kill you, but we have to protect our soul. That's why I have the channel name A Soul Survivor, because we lose so much of ourselves. And I don't want you having lifelong panic attacks, being paranoid, and feeling uncomfortable about, and with him telling you the way it's going to be, you're going to lose how to make good decisions. And that's kind of where you are now. You've been together with him for a long time. And I get all the religion and all that stuff too. It's very difficult. Plus, he's the breadwinner, and you don't really have resources. Maybe sometimes our friends can help us out, where they let us stay for 3 months for free. We bring, we'll pay for some food. They can just help us get on our feet, or we can say we'll pay them back, as long as we mean it. There are certain options. There are domestic violence places that can help. I knew a girl who she went into one. Now he's facing murder charges now, or attempted murder. He tried to kill her, like legit tried to kill her, and there were some drugs involved. Both of them did some, and I'm not talking pot. I'm talking drugs, drugs. I don't smoke pot, but there's other stuff that kind of make you lose your mind a little bit more. And so I don't really know what they were like when they were high or anything, but just arguing, paranoid about the cheating type stuff. And she really did love him. She had a terrible upbringing, so she was always, she was good to me until I let her borrow money. Like, she has some issues. We don't have to go into her. Yeah, she has some issues. So it's probably a toxic relationship. She was not a good pair for him, and bashed her like it. Yeah. You can't force them. That's the thing. Sorry about your luck. If you did, it's not him wanting to do it. And that's where it gets, I want you to listen to this. This is probably one of the most important things I'm going to say to you. He's going to resent you. he's going to resent you. And just like, if I go after college to pursue my dream, I want it. I will work towards it. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be disappointed in myself if I don't achieve it. So I'm going to try harder. But if my parents are like, look, you are going to school. This is what you're going to do. You're smart enough to do this. This is your career path. I pass. I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to, my fucking parents made me do this and I can't stand this goddamn job. And I don't mean to say that. Sorry. Slips out when I get angry. I try not to say it. Probably said it 20 times in my life and I don't like saying it. You just get really passionate, like, where it's a different take on it. You got a college degree either way. The passion's not there. If I was forced to do it, if I was obligated to do it, where I feel I'm going to be socially unaccepted unless I do it, the passion's not the same. So I get a job and I'm all right. But and I know what you mean by force. I know what you mean. And you don't want to manipulate. You can only present facts and hope he does it. You can say, I can't tolerate it. And this is where it gets scary. We don't have to threaten leaving, but we can say it has to stop. It cannot go on any longer. So don't say it cannot go any longer, otherwise I'm leaving. You don't have to say that because that's going to trigger abandonment issues. But yeah. So cops are okay. The cops, you can get advice from them. They will come in emergencies. They will come for wellness checks. They do a lot. They might make you go into City Hall or the police department to fill out a police report, but I don't think they're going to come to your house. They're not going to say, look, dude, you can't do that unless there's an altercation going on. I could be wrong. So you can always call the cops and ask, I think that's what is happening. Yeah. And it's, and I know that's what it feels like. It's he's struggling with what he's going on in him. And that's the thing. He has to want it. Think of that college analogy. How much effort is he going to put in? So let's say I did that career where I just had to get it. And so I paid for my college, no matter what, I'm going to do it. And then I love my job. I am passionate about it. I want to grow in that company. I'm going to do some more research. You don't even have to ask me to do more research. I'm going to go get my master's, whether I got paid for it or not. I love this so much. It's my calling. I'm going to get my doctorate. And you don't have to do this. This is just an analogy of how much passion can grow and the time and the effort and the money. And it doesn't matter. Some are happy, at a master. It's not about education. It's about the analogy. But the resentment, think about that. Parents as an analogy towards a relationship. So the parents, you got to do 4 years. You're already mad. Granted, you get 40,000 a year now, 30, 50,000 a year. So yeah, there are rewards to it, now you're forced to do your master's and, you're looking at your life like I'd rather put that money into a house or raise a family. And nope, now you got to get your doctorate and it's going to cause so much resentment. I couldn't get pregnant because, I was in school all the time. Now I've gone through menopause because I had to do my doctorate and you wouldn't give me time, and just the pressure. Like now I'm not doing my tests the right way because I feel mom and dad are going to look at me as a failure. It just changes everything, as opposed to I failed, but this is my dream. I'm going to take it again, as opposed to like, I got to hide and I don't want to be judged. And it's just different dynamic. Both are going to school. One's forced, one isn't. One's passionate about it, the other has resentment. It's perspective. Perspective is very interesting. Like I said, I'm an art teacher, but perspective on how we view words, how we view actions, even just, a little wink, echoing at your husband. And I'm like, not flirting with him, but that was a cute joke. You might be like, what is she doing? What's Cynthia doing? That's so inappropriate. And, maybe I do that all the time. And I don't, but some people are going to interpret it that way. And then you might ask a friend and they're like, yeah, that isn't appropriate. Ask a different friend. And you're like, what's the big, like, come on, you're overreacting. She just winked. It was a joke. It was funny. Or, perspective makes a big difference too. And he's going to come from his perspective and you're going to present from your perspective, trying to see his. And we have to be careful on that because we think a certain way. What was the thing? Because it's toxic when you think, see, we use our empathy to think how they would think, so we can be kind in our words. But the toxic thing is telling somebody how they think. Like, I know you're gonna hate this, but it's like, well, for one thing, if you already know I'm gonna hate it, you probably shouldn't say it to me. For another, why don't you give me a chance? Because sometimes too, it's like, oh, that's not that big deal. Like, I don't care about that, but they're not letting you make that decision. It's and that changes things. Like over time, you keep hearing that. So I think, yeah, he definitely, the perspective thing. That's why that personality test is really interesting. I don't care. I know who I am, what other people need. And just like the kids at school, the way they learn, auditory, um, visually, whatever. We all have different needs to feel loved, or to be loved in the way we, um, right now, if I'm having a bad day, I would be accepting of a hug. Other people aren't, you know? Um, and you're like, I gave her a hug. I was loving on her. I was being a good friend. I gave her a hug in her time of need. No, I needed not to have a hug. So sometimes best intentions can go wrong. But it's 9 o'clock. I'd love to stay up, but do some thinking. Make sure you're safe because, yeah, I don't know. He's made some movements, and for a murder charge, for premeditated, you just have to make one step towards, to be attempted murder. Like if it's an attempt. Like you'll get charged with attempted murder. The person didn't die, but you can get attempted murder if you make one step towards that plan. So sometimes, even looking things up, like or I plan on killing him at the hotel. So I gave him my credit card to hold the room. You know, if there's enough evidence to show that that was not for date night, you know, or just calling to pick him up. It has to be intertwined with, but one step of your plan, even if you back out of it, that's attempted murder, you know. So this is back in 1997, so the laws can change and depends on where you are, but that's, you know, that's law school. But we even studied, I don't even know where that was from because we studied all over the place. It was crazy. So before I go, was there anything that you would like to address? Something that might either make you feel a little more comfortable or something that is really weighing heavy? Because I'll be on tomorrow again. I'll try. This is the thing. I only have 20 hours of this trial software. And I need to get, I don't know if I want to go with the same software. I think there's other software, so I got to figure out what I'm doing. But I will get what I need to keep talking to you guys. The only thing is, it's a year subscription, so I don't mind paying for a month and then changing to a different platform if I don't like it. I don't want to be stuck on one that I'm not too sure about for a year. I don't mind paying for it, but I'm enjoying that I can see your chats. I've been wanting to go live for about 6 months. And it took me the longest time to kind of figure it out. And some said that they weren't compatible, and I couldn't get the code to link it. And this is just, it has been nice as far as it just uploads it and saves it. So Samantha, it was great talking to you. And just do some thinking. Make sure you're safe. That's what's, and make sure the kids are safe. Yeah, because even just talking to them has to be handled the right way. But I would do it more in the upbeat, like, we need to do this. Sometimes too, you gotta be firm with them. I don't know them well enough. So keep talking to me, and we'll figure this out. So I hope this helped you guys, and have a great night. Always topic requests are welcome. I love these live chats, so I can kind of focus on what you guys need. That's something we've been missing for a long time. So if you guys still have stuff, feel free, comment below, and I get back to those too. And I'll see you soon. Have a good night.